So, the Walt Disney Company, I would definitely say it's by far one of the most stubborn studios out there within Hollywood, within the film industry. They are the very same studio, by the way, that owns ABC, hence the very actual program that runs programs like The View, Jimmy Kimmel Live, Good Morning America, the list goes on and on there. And we already know that CEO Bob Iger continues to double down on diversity, equity, and inclusion, something that the majority of the general public, by the way, are absolutely tuning out of right now. Now, one movie in particular that actually has a lot of issues going on right now is Snow White 2025, starring Rachel Zegler. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, we know that there's a lot of damage control surrounding this film. We know that the star of the movie, if you even want to call her a star, Rachel Zegler, is really going into damage control about all the negativity surrounding this film, all of the critics really criticizing the film, and rightfully so, by the way. And not to mention we have director Mark Webb, writer Greta Gerwig, really trying to protect this movie at all costs. Now, it's interesting here a lot, surrounding this movie Snow White, is that we know that not only did Disney dial back on millions upon millions of dollars for the marketing campaign of this movie, but they're also limiting the appearances of Rachel Zegler throughout 2025 to promote the film in person, right? We're talking about her appearance at the Oscars and doing all these different, events that she was supposed to do, some of which, by the way, were canceled, such as her appearance on New Year's Eve and Thanksgiving to promote the film, but I digress. With many studios within Hollywood either doubling down on DEI or now beginning to back off on that agenda, one major development going on now involves more to do with actress Rachel Zegler showing her bitterness and getting very offended over the ongoing boycott for Snow White 2025. Rachel recently delivered the following in a desperate move to get her point across to the public. "I just think there are a lot of posers out there," she says, "a lot of posers that pretend to be fans of this fairy tale, that want to act like they enjoy the original film and stories by both Disney and the Brothers Grimm, just to complain about our new take on this iteration of Snow White being a powerful warrior standing up to protect society. We had to put a new spin on this film to truly connect it to a new, modern woman, and to make it relatable to the modern female, and I am beginning to realize that there are a lot of toxic women and men that have a growing issue with that representation, especially with how we cherish diversity in this film that should be respected. I think it's safe to say that I can call the bluff on so many critics that made a promise that they would never see this movie. Those same critics are without a doubt going to be waiting in line to see me, and they will, because they never stick to their word. That's why this film is going to be a success, mark my words, it will. It's going to be relatable, no matter what narrative the right tries to spin, that families are boycotting this film, in which that is the case, but it's not in the majority of families. This is a film that properly represents diversity, equity, and inclusion, and anybody who is against that, I think, is just foolish and can easily be labeled as misogynistic and for not wanting to see a woman on the big screen. So guys, let me just pause here quick. Now, this is the same exact trope, the same exact, nonsense that people are tired of listening to when you have actresses like Rachel Zegler, who, by the way, is by far one of the most insufferable actresses out there, who literally destroyed her career. Every movie that she starred in, for the most part at least, has bombed at the box office. This one most certainly will as well. And for Rachel Zegler to say that they are pretending to be fans or are trying to really just say that they were fans of the original Snow White or fans of the Brothers Grimm tale just to complain about the upcoming modern version is craziness. It just goes to show you exactly what Rachel Zegler will say no matter what to really kind of get her point out there and to play the blame game and to really play the victim card. Now, we all know that she gets very offended when it comes down to this movie because this is a film, by the way, that she claims that she sacrificed so much over. We'll talk about that in just a second as she brings it up. So let's get into that. I sacrificed so much for this role, she says, and nobody has any idea what it means to sit in a costume for 16 hours a day. So I think I deserve the respect and credit for making this role into a possibility. I think we need to realize that we are dealing with an agenda driven by toxic men and now women that are trying to convince others that just want to enjoy a new version or iteration of Snow White that is not weak and one that is strong and mighty to face a threat against society. So notice how she says that they wanted to create an iteration of Snow White that is not weak. It seems like that she's alluding to how she views the animated version as weak. Continuing on, she goes on to continue, this is the type of film that was long overdue that Greta, as in Greta Gerwig, and Mark, as in Mark Webb, had to create. We needed to really change the lore and the core details from the Brothers Grimm and what it means to be Snow White. We changed the meaning of both her spirit, her values, and the name. And yes, the name, because Snow White survived a blizzard this time. That's why she got her name Snow White, and I think it fits perfectly and should be remembered as the norm. So that's another thing I gotta bring up, guys, about what she says here, is that she believes that Snow White being called Snow White by surviving a blizzard should now be remembered as the new norm for this character in the lore, and not because of the appearance of the character, which, by the way, is embedded. It is embedded in the Brothers Grimm tale, and even in the Disney animated original. So it seems like Rachel's really, grasping at straws right now to do whatever she can do to really make it seem like that she's very optimistic about this movie, or very confident that this movie's going to perform well, when in reality, I think that she knows deep down this is not going to be a good movie, financially speaking, for the Walt Disney Company. It's exactly why the board of directors, the many executives over at Disney, have dialed back on their funds and are really dialing back on the amount of TV spots that will be displayed in the near future just before its release in late March of this year. So again, I mean, this is another example of reeking of desperation. She goes on to end her conversation by saying, because Snow White survived a snowstorm, that's how she got the name. We need to stop criticizing powerful female roles already. To those that are, you are just embarrassing yourself. I think the backlash that we saw online across social media is nothing more than those copycatting each other. In reality, they are all going to go line up and see this film, and it won't be a box office failure as many predict it to be. You just watch. So it seems like that she's so sure of herself that Snow White 2025 is going to be a smashing success, and that it is going to be a world record, breaking point for, the financial status of a Disney animated classic turning into a live action film. And look, we know that Disney right now is struggling. They're really trying to make a rebound. That's exactly why they're trying to do whatever it takes to really do damage control for this movie. And Rachel Zegler, I think, is not helping. I think she's making it worse. And we're going to have to wait and see what happens here, because a new trailer is on the horizon for this February, so we'll have to go over that as well. But if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.